A very warm welcome to you, and thank you so much for joining our Homeopathy 24/7 podcast. We are going to be speaking to an array of international guests who will share their knowledge and experiences of homeopathy with you. We will discuss all types of subjects such as remedies, symptoms, and stories of health. No matter where you are with your homeopathic journey, we aim to inspire you on your quest to natural health and living. The podcast is brought to you by Mary Greensmith, the founder of Homeopathy 24/7, which is a global platform connecting you with a homeopath wherever you are in the world, 24 hours a day. So let's get started with today's chat. Please welcome Mary Greensmith.
Hello, lovely to see you today. Thank you so much for joining us today, and I am really pleased to be able to welcome back Stephanie Thullen. Stephanie was with us a few weeks ago, and we were talking about human design and the basic principles of it and how we can use it alongside our healing journey. But today, Stephanie, we're going to talk about burnout. Is that right? And how we can bring all of these aspects of human design and homeopathy into helping just when we are completely burnt out.
Yes, yeah. Thanks for having me again, Mary. It was really fun last time, so yeah.
You came back. Yay! We just love having a chat about healing, don't we?
Exactly.
Yeah, and you know, at the end of the day, Stephanie, this is a really complex topic, and we can only ever touch the surface in the 20 minutes we've got here.
Yes.
But I thought when you said it's just, so relevant for us right now to be talking about particular things like burnout. So, you're very welcome to come back and talk about that as much as you like.
Yes, I think this topic is really, quite salient at the moment. I would say most people are in some stage of burnout. There's obviously that spectrum between, very mild to extreme burnout, right? And when I started to study human design, this is like one of the main things that struck me. And I realized that I myself have been in burnout mode for probably quite a few years. And sometimes we don't realize, because sometimes the symptoms could be, just very mild or just random things. But I remember just, being just fatigued and exhausted, more days than not, lacking focus or concentration, trying to avoid certain things, avoiding people, maybe getting weird pains and things like that. And then when I was studying human design, some of these symptoms came up as these are some of the physical symptoms and also emotional symptoms of burnout. And so that was super interesting to me. And just now, I feel like I'm coming out the other side of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And just as you said, there are so many different ways that we might be experiencing this. So you mentioned that fatigue feeling and not coming out, lack of concentration. And of course, for other people, it might be more physical, and they really are struggling to get through their day. So everybody is different. And with homeopathy, we know that we take it on the symptoms, the way that you experience your symptoms. Is that similar with human design? How does that work?
So yeah, like you said, homeopathy, we look at the symptoms, and we're almost there to fix the problem or, get the patient to go, start healing from that situation. I think human design, looks at it both ways. So I think in human design, we look at burnout as basically it's the result of us not living in alignment with ourselves. So we're not behaving according to our human design. Because if you're living according to your human design, it's all natural. You can see children are basically living authentically, right?
Yes, yeah.
And But as we grow and get life experience, we get conditioned and told by society to do things differently or whatever. And it takes a lot of energy
Yeah,
to
I suppose,
go
especially if
against
you're fighting
your
against.
nature.
Yeah.
So in human design, we say this, if you continuously living out of alignment, you will you will reach burnout, and eventually will manifest physically or with mental health as well, mental health issues.
Okay. Okay, so that's really interesting. So what you're actually saying is that we are understanding how we really want to be, and then we are understanding what society is trying to make us be. And if that's a continual fight, we're going to be suffering from burnout much, much faster.
Yeah, exactly.
Perfect. Okay. All right. So what happens? What are you looking for?
So let's say somebody comes to me with, they think they have burnout and everything. So there are several things you can look at in a human design, the body graph. So you get this little chart of your human design with the energy centers and the channels and everything there. So you can have, you can look at some of the open or defined centers and see a lot of the burnout can come from conditioning. For example, the open centers is where you take in energy from other people in the environment and amplify it. Mm-hmm. So let's say you have an open solar plexus, which is an emotional center. So that would mean that if you're around people who have a defined emotional center, you will be absorbing all their emotional stuff and amplifying it. So you even feel it more intensely. And you probably, if you're not have this awareness of what that is not yours, then you're taking it on yourself. And, a lot of these people tend to be people pleasers, avoiding conflict. And so that you could see how that could lead out to burning out eventually. Or even a defined center could, if you're not using it appropriately, consistently, because that's the defined centers are your consistent source of energy and very consistent themes in your life. But if you're not using them the correct way, for example, what we call the heart center, which is a center for willpower and self-worth, that requires a lot of rest cycles. But because of the will center, also is the willpower, so you're sort of driven, and you want to get things done. Because of the self-worth issue, you may not want to stop. So that could lead then to burnout eventually.
Okay. I'm beginning to get it now. So you will be looking at the plan and saying, okay, I understand you are reacting to life this way, and I can see that this is an area in your solar plexus, your emotional state, that we really need to work on, and you need to understand why you're reacting like you do to people. And just that understanding of their makeup is leading to the reactions that they have.
Yeah. And even just going back to the basics, like looking at your basic human design energy type, like whether you're a generator or a projector or a reflector, for example. We have different ways of utilizing our energy. And so that's one of the huge things for a lot of people who are non-sacral beings, meaning their sacral center is not defined. So these are projectors, manifestors, and reflectors. They're constantly absorbing energy from sacral beings who are the generators and manifesting generators and amplifying it. So they probably think sometimes they have a lot of energy and they keep going, 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 going. But actually, for them, it's not sustainable. Okay, this not is just very variable. So they need a lot more rest than a generator or manifesting generator. But obviously, society tells you you need to work hard and work 9 to 5 and do this and that and the other. So eventually, I think, especially projectors are very susceptible to burnout.
Okay. So it's not only the way that you're using your energy, it's the way that you're resting and recuperating that you might need to change.
Yeah, exactly.
And I know that we mentioned last time that this is for the children, and you can just see, if you can understand how each of your children are different, you're going to be able to help them so much.
Absolutely. And, and even a generator, a manifesting generator, can misuse their sacral energy. So if we're not responding to the right things for us, if we're just doing things to please people or out of obligation instead of doing things that we enjoy, then eventually that sacral energy degenerates and then you feel tired and exhausted. And that's what happened to me, where you just constantly doing things that are not aligned for myself. So eventually, you feel like, why am I so tired?
Okay. Can you give us an example of that, Stephanie? What things that you feel that you should do, not that you want to do? Is that what you mean?
Yeah. So for example, I would say just even simple things like maybe a friend or somebody asks you for a favor to do something. Let's say, can you please help me move this weekend? I have lots of boxes to move. And obviously we want to help people and not disappoint people, but maybe in your gut you're feeling like, oh God, I don't really want to do this weekend. I just can't. But then you just say yes because you don't want to hurt their feelings, etc. So then you're doing that out of obligation, basically. And I think, it would be good for people to experiment themselves if they know their design. If they're a generator or a manifesting generator, if you do things out of obligation, how do you feel when you do them? Do you have a lot of energy and excitement? Or are you just like going through the motions and
just survival mode, really?
Yes.
So from that, Stephanie, can you help people learn how to say no? Can you help them learn how to respond in a positive way without compromising their own energy source?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think the first step obviously is having the awareness of how you need to respond to life. So that depends obviously on your energy type. And I think for a lot of people, that's the hardest thing to get to grips with, whether you are a manifestor, projector, generator, or reflector. It's not how we've been taught to be in the world, right? So each one of us has our own sort of challenges in terms of reconnecting. But that first step is having the awareness. So I'll give you that awareness, and I can coach you sort of through things, how you can then respond appropriately. And it's like, human design is an experiment. So you just have to go out and try and see what happens. And even if you say, obviously, sometimes we have to do things we don't really want to do. Like I had to clean the house the other day and I was like, I don't really want to do it. But then you're aware of that and you know that, okay, I'm going to do this. I may not want it, but it has to be done. But actually afterwards I felt satisfied because the house is really clean and I was like, oh, okay, that's fine.
So it really helps. So understanding your own feelings through an exercise really, really is important. So tell me a little bit more about it being an experiment, because that's really exciting to me because of the responsibility of you and your health and how you feel and how you interact. So what do you mean by it's an experiment?
Yeah, I mean, well, human design was basically a channeled information. So, most of the people who have studied it and lived it say it makes total sense. But obviously, it was through actually experimenting with it and seeing if it worked for them or not.
Yeah.
And I think, when people get a reading or whatever, they say, oh, well, yeah, that sounds familiar to me, or not. They say, oh, that doesn't make sense. Then it's basically saying to them, well, just take the information, play with it, see what happens. Take what serves you and discard the rest. It doesn't serve you, then don't. And I think that just brings the responsibility of yourself and your own healing back to you, instead of handing it over to a therapist or a doctor or a homeopath, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to me, I just love it. I just love that because, we don't hear about it in therapists, do we? We don't say, this is an experiment. This is, you need to experiment. You need to find out what works for you. We all perhaps do it a little bit, but it's like under the cover, isn't it? It's like nobody talks about it. And this is just, to me, it just sounds as if you're allowing yourself to be responsible for your own health and your own body and your own thoughts, which is amazing.
I know. I also think as homeopaths, maybe we need to be more open that every consultation is an experiment. We're thinking this might be the remedies for you, but obviously we don't know what's going to happen, because it's the patient, the client, that is responsible for whatever happens with those remedies.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what I love about homeopathy is giving a remedy and then a client coming back and them saying, oh, and this happened. And you think, oh, I didn't expect that. Let me just see. And then we write in our repertories, don't we? And we write in our materia medica. Well, actually, this remedy is good for this as well. Yeah. And that's how the books have evolved. And, this is, so you're creating the book as we go, from experience, from real life, from your feedback, which is so important.
Absolutely. And each one of us is completely unique, so there's no way that one thing will work for everyone. So we just have to, like you said, we have to take this remedy or take this therapy or take this and see what happens to us.
Yeah.
And if it works well for us, and keep going with it. If it doesn't, then you move on to the next or change it.
Yeah. I like what you said, take what works and discard what doesn't. Because really, that's what we're talking about in life, isn't it? Take what works for us in life, to accept the bits that bring you joy, but discard the bits that don't.
Exactly. Because if we keep holding on to the things that don't bring us joy, then that's not living in alignment, and it will lead to burnout and physical disease eventually.
Okay. So, brilliant. I love it. Absolutely love it. But tell me, so going back to burnout, okay, we're coming in and we're feeling absolutely flat. And you're then explaining, okay, the reason why you're reacting the way that you react and your energy levels are low is because this is a weak point in your body. And you can help make that stronger or recharge your energy levels by doing certain things. And then what happens? They go away and experiment and try different things that you've suggested.
So they have to go and obviously say they are a projector, because they're the most prone to burnout, for example. So they would have to start experimenting with their strategy, which is waiting for an invitation. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, just recap on what a projector is.
Oh yeah, so sorry. A projector is one of the energy types of human design, one of the 5 types. And they don't have a defined sacral, which means their life force energy is variable. So it depends on who they're around. And they're very, very sensitive to other people's energies.
Okay.
So they would need to have a lot of rest.
Yeah.
More than most people. And, they probably sometimes need to be alone just to discharge all the energy from other people as well. And their strategy is to respond to invitations and recognition. So if they're starting, because they're here to sort of guide people and give advice, they can see really well into other people's energy and what people's potential is. So they're very they want to help people and they want to give them advice, and because they see that potential. But if they're not invited to do so or recognized by others to do so, they will be completely rejected. So that's really hard for them to learn, am I going to push myself on other people and give this advice, which is going to fall flat? Then they're going to feel like they're not heard, they're not seen, they're rejected, all those sort of things, which then leads to, and then obviously they want to work harder because people say that you need to work hard to make a living. So all these little things will add up to burnout. So they will have to go and, start experimenting with that. I'm going to wait till somebody asks me for advice instead of me just offering it.
Okay.
Or I'm going to just work for, 4 hours a day and I'm going to rest the rest of the time, take more time alone, things like that. I might also look at some of their centers which are open or defined and tweak maybe different things. Like say if they have an undefined root center, which is the center for adrenaline and pressure, then they would also just need to be aware of, don't have to have a never-ending list of things to do. You don't have to do everything, just rely on your strategy and authority, what is right for you, and don't do the rest. Because people with undefined roots tend to feel like they have to do everything, but they don't.
Okay.
So I might just look at different aspects like that. Or if they have an undefined emotional center, just be careful not to, people please and do things out of obligation, things like that.
Okay. So you're actually addressing all aspects, aren't you, of previous rules, the way that you've set your life up, because what you've been told, what you believe you're expected to do. And you're really turning it on its head and said, look, this isn't doing you very good. You're doing your health any good, and you need to change it if you need to gain more energy.
Yeah. And obviously, if they also come for homeopathy, then I would probably take, obviously, the symptoms of the case and prescribe supporting remedies that are appropriate for that person, or,
Okay, so you're running the human design alongside the homeopathy.
I can do, if people want that.
If it's appropriate. Excellent. It's just so fascinating, Stephanie. If we click through to your website, does it explain a little bit about those 5 different groups, types?
I think at the moment I have a very general human design page, but I'm going to respond to you and I'm going to make a page with more information.
Yeah.
I'll definitely do that.
If people go from here and then, are considering, okay, well, what would those 5 be? And I know that you've told me several times, and I just don't remember, the words aren't sticking particularly well. They're different words than we would.
It's a whole new language.
It is a whole new language. And also, it's not what I would expect me to be, because where I am in my life now is offering different things. But it's not until you start realizing, okay, that's why I do what I do when I do it.
Yeah.
That is so important.
Yeah, we have to remember these words are just words. And of course, words have power. And there's some other human design practitioners and teachers who are trying to change the language of the human design, because sometimes it's a bit disempowering, some of the words that we use. But it's also, important to know that you're not, just because you are a generator, and don't put yourself in that little box, because a generator can be many unique. You're a different generator from my husband, completely different people.
Yeah.
Even though you're the same energy types, right? Because there's so many layers to ourselves. But it's just a guide, basically, a guide to help you, interact with life and
exactly
respond to life.
Yeah, it's absolutely fascinating, and I love talking to you about it. That's so great. Thank you so much for joining us today, Stephanie. We please do put that page on your.
I will. I'm here to respond. So
yeah. Excellent. This is working. Let's talk some more.
Brilliant. Thank you, Mary.
Take care. Thank you so much, Stephanie, for running through this with us. It is so important that we get used to explaining, just finding out more about ourselves and more about what we need in order to maintain our health. Next week, I'm going to be talking to Cantoress. Cantoress Hartley is a homeopath in Homeopathy 24/7, and she talks about her family practice on Vancouver Island in Canada. So with 23 years of experience as a qualified homeopath, we talk about the vast scope across all levels of health that homeopathy can be so useful for. I look forward to seeing you there. Take care.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode and look forward to listening to our next one. Please don't forget to follow our podcast on your chosen channel, and please do leave us a review so we can continue to share homeopathy with as many people as possible. If you do have any questions, please do reach out to us on any of our social platforms mentioned in the show notes. We at Homeopathy 24/7 hope to empower you on your natural health journey.